What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. This is like the 5th video I've dropped today and like the 100th millionth video I've done of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, but there's just so many comparisons I have to do and just not enough time. But we're going to be looking at, actually this is kind of interesting, well, this is a comparison I was super excited for. So the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 versus the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Now I think in my opinion the S9 Plus is one of the best valued phones you can get right now when you consider everything that we're about to talk about. But obviously the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 is the better device probably between these two, you would think, but that's not entirely the case per spec on this phone. So I know that's kind of hard to explain, but I'll go ahead and talk about it in a second. But the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus actually came out last year in February, so it's a little bit over a year old. It's like about like a year and a half. But the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, you guys already know, it's not even like 2 weeks old yet. It was announced in August, but it's available everywhere now to pick up. And looking at the front, this is where a lot of the differences lie, but at the same time, it's also the strong suits of both phones. So the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus at the front has a 6.2-inch Super AMOLED display. I said that all weird. It is a 1440p panel, so it's honestly one of the best panels I've ever seen. It has 529 pixels per inch, and it is a very, very solid phone in terms of the display. I mean, the display on this thing is a beautiful. The colors were so vivid and everything, and I've always loved Super AMOLED displays, but the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 does have a little bit of a bigger panel. It is a 6.3-inch dynamic AMOLED display, but here's the kicker, and here's the thing where I honestly don't understand what was going through Samsung's mind. They put a 1080p panel on the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, which when you have that big of a display and the resolution is stuck at 1080p, you're kind of messing with the pixels per inch as well. So there's only 401 pixels per inch where you had 529 on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. So even though the S9 Plus is an older device, it technically has a better display in my opinion than the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. I don't think the Note 10's panel is all that bad, but I don't know why they wouldn't put a 1440p display on it. Now the best thing about the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 is that it does have the hole punch display, which is really, really cool. I really like that. I think that's, the future, going bezel-less and all that, but the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus really didn't have that much less bezel on it or a lot of bezel on it either. There is a little bit on it, obviously on the top and bottom, but it wasn't as bad as you might think. Like when you're using this day to day, in some ways you might actually prefer having at least a little bit of bezel. That way you can hold the phones on the side, and if you kind of put your phone or rest your phone on the bottom right corner or something like that, you won't accidentally press things. So that is one huge thing to recommend. But obviously the Samsung Galaxy Note 10's panel is completely usable. It's not horrible. And I actually do like the design of the Note 10's panel, how the bezels are pretty much pushed out to the edge. But I just wish they kind of made it a little bit better in terms of the display resolution. But both phones feel very, very premium in the hands. The one doesn't necessarily feel more premium than the other. But looking on the back, this is where it's like another cool feature of the Note 10, where on the S9 Plus, is a little bit more old-fashioned. You have that fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone where it's right below the cameras. I feel like they could have put it in a better spot, but whatever. You have a dual camera setup on the S9 Plus, which I'll get into in a second, and a triple camera setup on the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, but no fingerprint sensor on the Note 10 on the back. The fingerprint sensor is actually embedded in the display on the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. So as soon as you pick it up, you can rest your finger on it and unlock the phone, which is super, super cool. I love that so much about even stemming back from the Samsung Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus. They put that fingerprint sensor in the display, which is so cool. And just the thought that all the phones we're pretty much going to get from now on might have a fingerprint sensor in the display is going to be a killer feature, no doubt. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the outside. Obviously, they both have USB Type-C ports on the bottom. The coolest thing about the S9 Plus, though, is that it does have the headphone jack. So for a lot of people, that might be a huge feature. For me, not so much. I'm kind of already used to it. But the Note 10 does have the S Pen, which is super cool. And for a lot of people, that's a big enough feature to go jump up to the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 coming from like a Samsung Galaxy S6 or whatever the phone you're coming from before. That might be a huge reason to pick it up. I mean, even if the display isn't as good as the S9 Plus, at least you have some sort of feature that's compelling towards that specific phone, in my opinion. So they both have IP68 dust and waterproofness up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, so that's awesome. And all those little features between them, I mean, they're all pretty much the same, They both act like phones, they're both very good. They both have their quirks and features, but in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers up everything I needed to talk about. Now, talking about the software, okay, this is where things get a little bit rocky. The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is the older device, so technically speaking, the Note 10 will get more software updates, no doubt. I will 100%, stand by that. The S9 Plus started off with Android Oreo. You are able to get Android One UI on it, which is a solid piece of software. And overall, we should be getting one more software version on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, unless Samsung randomly extends the software lifecycle of their phones, which I honestly think they might do. So if they do that, then that's awesome. But we do have at least one more version of software support on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus at the time of me making this video. But the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, you guys already know it just got released. So it's going to be continuing getting software support for a very, very long time, at least for like another 2-3 years. Still not comparable to iOS, that those phones get a lot more versions of software, but I'm still cool with the beginning of Android for these phones. So I think it's perfectly fine for now. Another cool thing to note is that the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, since it's been out longer, has a root out for it, obviously, and also custom ROM. So if you ever want to go and find a custom ROM, I've heard S9 Plus custom, I think I've heard Galaxy S9 ROMs have been really good. So maybe some S9 Plus ROMs have been very good as well. So you do some research, find out some ones if you want to custom ROM it, which I would really, really recommend you guys to do after this phone is done being supported. But the Note 10, eventually custom ROMs will come out and roots will come out. So either or, both phones will be very solid in terms of software for a little bit longer, but then custom ROMs will be there for you afterwards. So that pretty much covers up the software. Let's go ahead and talk about the performance of both these phones. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 630 GPU, and all variants of the S9 Plus have 6 gigs of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 640 GPU, and there's only one variant of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, which is the 8 gig model. Now, a humongous thing to note between these two is that yes, there is more storage, technically speaking, on the base models of both of these phones, but there's only one base model of the Note 10. If you look at the top model of the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, that is a 256 gig model. But the thing you have to keep in mind after that is that the S9 Plus does have a micro SD card slot, but the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 does not have that. That is a humongous feature for the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. The S10 and S10 Plus have micro SD card slots, but the Note 10 does not have that. But going back to the performance, I will probably tell you yes, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 is the faster phone. It has a newer chipset, a newer GPU, all that stuff, and an additional 2 gigs of RAM on their phones. But at the end of the day, we kind of already expected that phone was faster. I think from day-to-day use, I don't think you'll notice a crazy difference between both of these at the end of the day. Yes, the Note 10 is the faster one, but from my experience, whenever I'm opening games or doing anything on the S9 Plus, my performance was very, very solid. Yes, there were maybe a couple times it was a little glitchy, but when you have that big of a display in high resolution, you should kind of expect that now and then. The Note 10, obviously one of the fastest phones out right now, but another thing to note is that because it does have a lower resolution display, which is not a good thing, but because of that, I guess a benefit of having a lower resolution display is that there's less pixels to push, so technically speaking, apps should load faster and there should be less skip frames overall on the Note 10 than on the S9 Plus, so that's also a thing to know. But I think the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is a super solid phone, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, especially when you consider the fact that it's still getting software updates. So yes, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 is the faster phone. We already kind of knew that, but the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is still a very solid phone in my opinion. Now moving on to the cameras. Now this is not going to be that crazy of a thing. I think we all know the Note 10's camera is going to be better. We have two 12 megapixel sensors on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus and 3 sensors on the Note 10. We have two 12 megapixel sensors and a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now ultimately these phones at the core of them, they do the same exact features pretty much, but the Note 10 does have additional features built into the camera app, which is really, really cool. We can shoot 4K at up to 60 frames per second on both devices, which is super awesome. You can do 1080p at up to 240 frames as well. Is anybody going to do that? Probably not, but you do have that capability, which is awesome. And this is what I'll tell you, yes, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 is the better camera here. We all would know that by now. But at the same time, like I said before, I've always liked Samsung cameras, so I truly do believe that the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus can still hold up without a doubt. And even though, yes, the Note 10 is better, as long as you're not comparing them side by side, I don't think you're going to notice that big of a difference, if I'm being honest. I know that I say that about every single little thing, but that is 100% the truth. As long as you're not comparing them, you'll be perfectly fine. So yes, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, again, is the better device in terms of the camera. The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is a very solid camera as well. Now, ending it off with the battery life, this might actually surprise you. They both have the same sized batteries within them, so they both have 3,500 mAh. The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is the older device, so the battery, if you're getting it used, or even if you've owned one for the last year and a half, that battery probably has degraded down to 3,000 or a little bit less or a little bit more, whatever the case is, but it's not at that full 3,500 probably anymore, where the Note 10 is the brand new device, so you're probably going to get a 3,500 mAh battery within it. Now you have wireless charging on both devices, but the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 does have an extra feature with reverse wireless charging, which is a super, super awesome thing. Now in terms of the battery life, I would give that edge to the Note 10 because of that low resolution display. But also because of that reverse wireless charging, I think that's a battery feature, so that already kind of automatically falls into the battery category. So ultimately, I do think that Samsung Galaxy Note 10 would have better battery life and also more battery features than the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. So that's pretty much how I would kind of categorize that specific category. Now, to kind of sum up this whole entire comparison, if you have a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, I honestly don't think you're missing out on too much going to a Note 10 or just waiting out until the next version. I think the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is a super solid device. There's really nothing wrong with it. Maybe the only slight thing that kind of irks me a little bit is that fingerprint sensor. It's just kind of funny how it's on the back. Like they could have, but there's really nowhere else they could have put it. So I totally get it, because at that time, that's how most phones were. The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 though is the better device. I think it's a super solid phone overall. You have the S Pen, you have so many different things, but also with the S9 Plus, you have a micro SD card slot, you have, a really good display, you have cameras, you have the headphone jack as well. So it really just depends. I mean, I don't really think there's a humongous clear winner. I do think the Note 10 is the better phone though, but I think ultimately, yes, the Note 10 is the better device, but the S9 Plus is still a very solid phone in my opinion. And that pretty much covers it. I'll go ahead and find the cheapest S9 Plus and Note 10s on Amazon, and I'll link them straight in the description below. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section as well. Hit that like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.